All right. Let's move on to some tips and tricks about the procurement. Now, the procurement management plan, this is part of the project management plan in Waterfall only, and it contains the approach and which tools, processes, templates, techniques, guidelines that we will use for managing the procurement on the project. Okay. The term bidder conference, this refers to the meeting between the buyer and the sellers, potential sellers, okay, where the buyer answers the questions of the sellers, clarifies any doubts, okay, and explains also the bid terms and conditions. Now, RFQ means request for quotation, RFP means request for proposal, and RFI means request for information. The SOW, this is statement of work. This is where is explained how the work will be performed and all the related conditions. Okay, actually, even I have used SOWs in most of my projects. For example, when I was working at the IBM, because IBM was very waterfall company. So therefore, in most of our projects, we needed to have a statement of work between us and the client, where it was explained, uh, let's say, what is this project? Not a project charter. No, it's not similar to a project charter. It's the way how we will be performing the work for them. Okay, that's a statement of work. Okay. Now, what's the process of selecting vendors? Now, once a request for a proposal, now remember this. Once a request for a proposal is issued, then we will be receiving a number of, let's say, applications, okay, or offers. Then first step is to do some initial screening where we will filtering out the unwanted sellers or vendors. Okay, and then based on some weighting or scoring system according to an evaluation criteria through some quantitative analysis, we will be ranking the sellers, the potential sellers, and finally we will be awarding the contract to the vendor or the seller with the highest score. Okay. So this is the process of selecting vendors. Exit criteria, these are the conditions that must be fulfilled before a contract is considered as complete. Okay. These are also types of procurement documents, letter of intent, memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, purchase order, SLA, basic ordering agreement, contract, etc. Okay, so we just want to put them in the tips and tricks here for you, so in case you need to know them. Now, something important in PMI's mindset, which is to inspect. Now, inspection generally is really an important part of PMI's mindset, not only in procurement, but also in creating and delivering work. So inspection actually is, for example, in procurement, that's the review of the seller's delivery or performance. And statistical sampling, this is one of the inspection techniques. Okay, so you as a project manager, you need to inspect how inspect the performance of the seller, if they are delivering actually what was contracted. If yes, that's fine. If not, if the performance is poor or they're not delivering what has been agreed, then you need to, of course, for PMI, the preferred way is to talk to the vendor directly, or sit with them, find the root cause, but definitely go for an open discussion, face to face, and a confronting or collaborating mindset. Okay, don't withdraw from the contract. We will see here when to withdraw from the contract. Let's see it, because actually in this version 2 of the tips and tricks we've added actually several tips and tricks for the procurement in particular. When dealing with a new vendor, assess the risks related to them. So that can be one of the answers to pick in the PMP exam. So in case the question tells you that a new vendor has been selected, then you need to figure out if there are any risks connected with this new vendor. In case the contract threatens the project, then cancel the contract. Not cancel the project, but cancel the contract. Okay. There are a few types of contracts. Okay, fixed price contract is usually used when the scope is defined and no changes are expected. So here the risk of any cost increase lies on the seller side. and it's got subtypes such as fixed price contract, firm fixed price contract, fixed price with incentive fee, and fixed price with an economic price adjustment. And this latter one, it is usually used for long-term contracts due to inflation. Okay, not the and it's reviewed due to inflation. Okay. In the PMP exam, it wouldn't really ask you about these types of contracts, maybe just the one with the economic price adjustment. The second type of contracts is the cost reimbursable contracts, which are used when the scope or the requirements are not well defined. And usually the risk of cost increase is on the buyer's side because the scope is not fixed, so the cost is not fixed, or the price is not fixed. So actually the buyer might pay more than they expected. And it's got some few subtypes such as cost plus fixed fee, cost plus incentive fee, and cost plus award fee. And these two ones are kind of similar. You can see the difference between them in our training course in case you were one of our students. Okay. The last type of contracts is the time and material contracts. This is hybrid in nature, and it is usually used for hiring experts, consultants, freelancers, etc. All right. Now, in case a key provider bankrupts, then here apply the steps as described in the procurement management plan, because usually the procurement management plan describes. I mean, you as a project manager in the procurement management plan, you will describe what you will do in case a supplier bankrupts, they run out of business, and how you will replace them, the timelines, the processes, who should do what, the roles and responsibilities, mainly between the legal department, the procurement department, and you as a project manager. So all of this is usually described in the procurement management plan. So you need to apply the steps as described. Okay. Now, in PMI's mindset, it's important also to audit the processes, audit the application of the processes, such as auditing risks, auditing procurement, etc. So, procurement audit, this is a formal review and examination of the procurement processes, procedures, and activities within the project or the organization. Um, um, in procurement management, it's very important to negotiate during the awarding the contract phase. Okay. And also negotiation can be important in case of any dispute or disagreement. Okay. Because negotiation is a form of a face-to-face communication. Always think of a win-win output. Okay. Don't try, to get all the advantage just for yourself, or so don't pull much, towards yourself or towards the project. Consider also, the interests of the other contracting party. Okay. In case of a force majeure, that's like, a natural disaster, for example, the management reserve is to be used. This is supposed to be mentioned in the contracts. Okay. Okay. That's why you put it also here in the procurement, and we will see it later in the risk management. The steps for resolving the disputes. First of all, think of a direct negotiation, direct communication, meeting the vendor. That's a confronting or a collaborating style. No, that's more of a confronting, actually. Confronting. Also, there is otherwise go for indirect negotiation. That's called alternative dispute resolution, ADR, such as using mediation or arbitration, and this is a form of a collaboration. Our final resort will be to go to court as a last step. Okay. Now, closing the contract. Closing any contract, actually, that happens only after all deliverables meet the requirements. Now, in case we have a vendor that is responsible for performing some work for the project, so we cannot close the contract with the vendor until we have confirmation from the stakeholders that the deliverables were according to the expectations, and closing any contract should be done correctly according to the administrative procedure. Okay. If a provider is not performing well, then provide them with feedback to improve their performance. That's the kind of steps you need to take. That's the kind of actions. So think about it when picking your answers in the question, or look for another provider if the vendor did not make any improvements, despite the fact that you tried hard with them. Okay. Generally, don't choose answers in the exam that incur cost increase. such as using awards, hiring externals, crashing the schedule, asking for more budget, etc. And always just check the situation, okay? Because sometimes the only solution is to crash the schedule, for example, or to hire an external or a consultant, okay? But just, always check the situation before picking the answer, all right? All right. So far, these are our tips and tricks for procurement before moving on to the next topic. Remember, guys,